I'm on my way to the airport, but I stopped off here at Google's headquarters in Mountain View, California, because I thought this would be a particularly hilarious place to tell you about trespass to land. Oh, here comes a car. I want to get run over. I don't think they're going to sue me for trespass to land, because if they do, you know what they're going to get. They tangle with me in court over trespass to land. They know what they're going to get from me. Oh yeah, I'll show it to you right here. They're going to get $1 because I'm not going to damage anything. At least I don't think I am. So trespass to land is one of the most ancient torts in the Anglo common law. It goes all the way back. And it's a foundational tort. If we can't sue people for getting on our land, then how are we going to have our capitalist economy? These are pretty trees. It's also a powerful tort. I'm going to explain to you. It's very powerful. Trespass to land is an intentional entry on someone's real property. So there's 3 elements: intent, entry, real property. But I like to take them in reverse order: real property, entry, intent. So let's talk about it like that. First has to be real property. Real property, if it's tangible property, it's either land, meaning real property, or it's a chattel. Land is immovable property, or I guess could be movable with effort if you're sawing stuff off using a plasma cutter. If you use a plasma cutter to make it movable, that doesn't mean it was a chattel. Chattels are movable property. So to tell the difference between real property and chattels, I like to do a little game I call land versus chattel. Let's just play a quick version here. G-bike parking, that sign. That's land. That's part of the land, see? Okay. The other thing you should know about the real property element of the trespass to land tort is that you don't have to actually own the land in fee simple if you've taken property. You just have to be the possessor. So you could be the lessee of the land, and you could still sue for trespass to land. Keep moving along here. At some point they'll call their security forces on me. Then I'll have to do some explaining. Let's talk about entry. For entry, I like to remember HVAIF, which is not a great mnemonic. I probably should work on that. But HVAIF. Many different ways to accomplish an entry. HVAIF. Horizontal, vertical, acting on, inducement, failure to leave or remove. So H, horizontal entry. So I could move into an area of the land where I'm not allowed. Such as that right there, because it says employee parking. But I came in here anyway. I'm gonna park just for a second, just to do it. So I could do, you want me to do a tort? A live tort? I'm gonna park the car. I'm gonna park the car and Google employee parking. Do they know I'm here, by the way? Of course not. That would defeat the whole point. This is live torting. Doing the torting. I turn the car off because that's how we know it's possible. And I just parked the car and Google employee parking. That's a tort. I just torted. Okay, that's a trespass. I did a horizontal entry onto their land, latitude and longitude. So there's also vertical entry. Even if I had permission to be here, which I don't, But if I had permission to be in this building, like I had a visitor pass, and then I climbed up on the roof, I don't have permission to be on the roof, that would be an entry too. Because I can make an entry by going up or down to some place I'm not authorized to be. I can also make an entry by tunneling under the subsurface or going above. Like just waving your hand in the air, that counts as an entry on the land. I want to tell you about something called the heaven and hell cone. Real property extends all the way down to the center of the earth. So if you have a circle of property, then you've got a cone that extends all the way down to the center of the earth and then extends upwards all the way. Well, now it's to a reasonable distance. Before they invented airplanes, though, it extended for forever. HVAIF. So we talked about horizontal entry, talked about vertical entry. The A is for acting on something. Just acting on a piece of property in a way that you are not allowed to, in a way that you don't have permission to, that counts as a trespass. So turning on a faucet where you don't have permission to do that. The faucet's a fixture, it's part of the real property. So turning on the faucet, acting on that, would be an entry that counts for trespass. Swinging from a chandelier. You could be invited to a party, and you're allowed to be in a house, but you start swinging from the chandelier, that's a trespass. Because you're acting on a piece, the chandelier would be part of the real property. You're acting on the real property, that's a trespass. The I is for inducement. If I tell someone, yeah, you're allowed to go into that Google building, it's totally fine by them. You have permission, and they don't. Then I have created an entry. I'm responsible for the entry. So are they. Well, both have entered the real property. Then F is failure. Failure to leave, failure to remove. If you are allowed to be on property, like you were invited to a party and they say, no, the party's over, you need to move on, and you don't leave, that counts as an entry as well. HVAIF. Horizontal entry, vertical entry, acting on a part of the real property, inducement, and failure to leave or remove. Let's talk about the intent element. The intent element's actually very simple, but sometimes students get confused about it. The intent that's required for trespass to land is just the intent for the action that constitutes the entry. You don't have to intend to trespass. Compare that with battery. For battery, the intent is intent to effect a battery. In other words, the intent to effect a harmful or offensive touching. But for trespass to land, you just have to intend the action that constitutes the entry. So even if I don't think I'm trespassing, I wave my hand over some real property where I don't have authorization to do that. That counts as the requisite intent. We can do some problems.
Hypo Time. Independent inventor Indira is at the sparkling modern headquarters of Apricot Computer to pitch executives on her new invention, the world's most advanced soccer ball. Among other things, it can send and receive email and monitor 17 indications of your personal health. Indira calls it iBall. And yes, she knows she needs to work on that. Allowed into a waiting area, Indira observes a red line on the floor marked, "No entry without authorization." A person walking through the lobby says, We'll meet with you very soon, but in the meantime, have your ball go just over that red line. Indira programs the iBall to roll right up to and just 1 centimeter beyond the line. The iBall does as programmed. The person who talked to Indira doesn't actually work for Apricot. He's a visitor whose own pitch was just shot down. Did Indira have the requisite intent to trespass? The answer is yes. Answer yes. Indira does have the requisite intent to trespass. Even though she didn't intend to trespass and arguably couldn't have reasonably believed she was trespassing, it doesn't matter. What matters is that she intended to make an object enter a place that is real property where she lacked authorization for an entry. She might not be liable for more than $1 in nominal damages, but the intent element is met. Let's tweak the facts. Indira programs the iBall to roll right up to but not beyond the line, and then reverse direction and return to her. The iBall starts to do as programmed, but an electrical short causes the ball to keep rolling past the red line into the unauthorized area. Did Indira have the requisite intent to trespass? The answer is no. Answer no. Indira does not have the requisite intent to trespass. She did not intend to make the iBall enter a place where that place happens to be real property for which she lacked authorization for an entry. Even if the electrical short is attributable to her negligence, it still wouldn't matter.
One thing I want to tell you about with trespass to land is damages. Damages can be huge with trespass to land because it works essentially like strict liability. When you're trespassing, any property damage you do, any personal injury, that all, you're on the hook for that. Even if you were being reasonably careful, even if you were undertaking the care that a reasonable person would, while you're trespassing, any damage you do, that's recoverable. And that makes trespass to land a really powerful tort. But it's also can be a really weak tort, as Google well knows.
My favorite trespass to land case is Aaron and Christine Boring versus Google Incorporated. It comes out of the Street View feature for Google Maps. Google drove one of their camera cars off of a public road and onto the Borings' property until they really had nowhere to go but into the Borings' swimming pool. The Borings sued. Google tried to argue it wasn't a trespass because they didn't do harm, but the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Third Circuit shut them down. There was a trespass claim. Land, intent, entry, it's all there. Don't need harm, but without proof of actual damages, the Borings got nominal damages of $1. But a pretty sweet $1 from Google. We should talk briefly, at least, about some defenses. The big defense to trespass to land is consent. If you have permission to be on part of the real property or to touch or act on some part of the real property, that's a total defense. There's also the possibility of a defense called necessity. If you need to be on someone's property to save yourself or to save some of your property from being destroyed, that can be a defense. But it's important to keep in mind that necessity and consent are both affirmative defenses. That means the burden's on the defendant to prove that they had a necessity or for consent to prove that they had permission to be there.
Hey, you can't be in here.
Let's apply what we've learned.
There it says Google lobby. Let's do some trespassing. If they see this video, they can sue me. This is their real property. A lot of tech companies lease their stuff. But whether they're a lessee or the owner in fee simple, they're the possessor of the real property, so they can sue me. They have the real property element. I made an entry. I'm horizontally on their property. And intent, I meant to be here. I also meant to trespass, but I don't need to intend to trespass. All right, let's do sort of land versus chattels here. All right. Oh, the Google chair table. Let's check. That's a chattel. See? I can just pick that up because I'm so strong. I can pick it up all the way in the air. So that's a chattel. Let's check this one. That's a chattel. Oh, that's a chattel too. I sit in it. Oh, yeah. It's a chattel. All right. Now touch their real property. Here. This is land because it doesn't move. So I'm sitting on their real property at Google. Trespassing to land at Google. Trash can. Looks like it's yeah, I can move that. How about this Google tree? That's part of the land. See that? So that doesn't move. Yes, this is part of the land. Now, see this pretty flower? If I pick this flower, well, I mean, this whole thing is trespassing.